Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our third OperaLIVE broadcast. My name is Cody Martin. I'm the Director of Education for Pensacola Opera, and I'm coming to you here live from my home in Pensacola. If you haven't yet, I invite you to like us here on Facebook and stay tuned for lots of exciting, fun, and informative content that we have planned during this time when we are unable to gather together in person. Our two previous OperaLIVE broadcasts, as well as a special performance featuring Corey McKern and Sheila Dunn, those are available here on Facebook as well as over on our YouTube channel. During this broadcast, we invite you to put any questions you might have for either me or my guest down in the comment section, and we'll save time to answer some questions at the end of the video. Our guest today is Soprano Mary Evelyn Hangley. She is a good friend of mine and an incredible musician, so I'm so excited to have her here and for you all to get to know her. So welcome, Mary. Welcome to the broadcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, given the circumstances.
Exactly. So I'd love to start out just to learn who you are, where you're from, where you've been, what's going on.
Okay, so my name is Mary Evelyn Hangley. I am from Long Beach, New York, which is on Long Island, so you will hear the accent come out every so often. Where have I been? Well, I did my undergrad at SUNY Fredonia in upstate New York, and I was a music ed major. And then I went down to Florida State University where I met Cody, and I was a voice performance major for my master's. And after school, I sort of jumped right into the young artist world, starting off at Sarasota Opera and then the Maryland Opera program. From there, Minnesota Opera, the Glimmerglass Opera Festival, and most recently, I finished my Adler Fellowship at San Francisco Opera.
Awesome. So you're in San Francisco now, correct?
I'm in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Yeah, not in San Francisco. I'm in the East Bay.
Well, yeah. So what about, do you have any favorite roles or favorite companies that you worked with or anything like that?
I do. Favorite what?
Favorite experiences?
Oh, man. So I have to say some of my favorite roles are Musetta in La Bohème. That was just so much fun to just sort of burst into an opera 45 minutes in and just kind of take it over for an act. That's really fun.
Speaking of Musetta in La Bohème, I think I have a clip. So let's take a little listen. This is going to be Mary singing Musetta's famous aria, Quando Men Vo, from Act 2 of La Bohème. So let's take a listen.
Legatemi alla seggiola, quella gente che dirà. Quel canto scurrile mi muove la bile, mi muove la bile.
All right. That was a fun time.
That was so nice to relive that in its entirety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
La Boheme's a lot of fun, of course.
Yeah.
You also were in a Wagner piece in Minnesota, weren't you?
I was. So that was at Minnesota Opera, which you asked me about companies I love. That is one of them, Minnesota Opera. Yes. So a few months prior to that, we had done Das Rheingold, the first opera in the Ring cycle. And we did a really special version where the orchestra was on this stage, but it wasn't a concert version of the opera. It was still fully staged with the singers all around the orchestra, above the orchestra. And looking at that La Boheme clip, I was reminded that I had to walk across a bunch of chairs without looking at them while singing. And that was difficult, but it was not nearly as difficult as that entrance in Rheingold, because the Rhine Maidens were situated in the pit, and that is dry ice, that smoke, that fog. And so if anybody knows the beginning of Rheingold, it starts with Voglinde, and it's like an A flat major chord for like 5 years, and then all of a sudden you just have to like sing it. So basically I went in blind, crawled through the pit holding my breath, and then I had to pop up, breathe, and sing at the right time. That was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Well, yeah, and you'll probably never have to do that again.
I don't know. It's a great production, so like, I think people should do it because it's so amazing. But it's the most difficult thing.
Add it to the special skills on your resume.
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about. So, of course, you are supposed to. Had planned on having you do our Leonora in Il Trovatore. Postponed. Yeah. We're of course still hoping to get that rescheduled as soon as we can and get everybody back together. So let's talk a little bit about Il Trovatore. I know you did get to sing one performance right before you came here. So
I did.
How do you like the role? What are your things you like about it?
Oh gosh, how do I like the role? I love the role. It is so challenging, but the payoff for me is just as great as that challenge, which is not always the case with difficult music. And so it's just been a joy and an absolute pleasure to sort of live with her for the past, really, we decided to do this a few years ago, but to really dive into the music for the past, year, it has been amazing. And I'm speechless. I'm literally speechless because it's so good.
And our production is very unique and special that it's moved out of the 15th century Spain where it originally was set, and it's now in a post-apocalyptic kind of dystopic future where we don't know what happened. So how do you feel about doing something like that? It's completely different and new.
I love it. I think it's it allows for some liberty with the story, because as some operas of that time are, the story is interesting, a little far-fetched, we could say. But I think this setting lends itself so well for experimentation and exploration into the weird post-apocalyptic things we were doing, which I will not talk about because we haven't done it yet. But it's so fun. It's freeing to sort of take away the traditional, I don't want to say barriers, but expectations.
Right.
And to just have fun and do something completely different.
Yeah, totally. So kind of switching gears, obviously right now we have postponed this production, and every production in the country basically and around the world has been canceled or postponed. So how are you holding up? What is going on with you? I know it's a hard time for everybody, but what has your experience been during this weird time?
Wow. I have nothing to compare it to, so I think it's going great, I guess. What I've learned about myself in this time is how important it is to maintain connection with people, with family, with friends, with colleagues. So this is really nice to chat with you, Cody. And also to the art that we love, to maintain a connection to that, to, even if you're not going to sing, just open up a score and look at it, listen to something on YouTube, and just sort of keep some sense of normalcy when it comes to the art form, for me at least. That has been really helpful in this time.
Yeah. There's a lot of companies that are doing things, to try to help these artists during this time. Did you have any specific advocacy or companies doing things that you'd like to mention?
I do. First off, I want to say, they don't know that I'm saying this, but Pensacola Opera. I want to start off with them. They, from a month ago, before everything kind of went crazy, they were one of the first companies to say, we cannot put on our show, but we are still paying you for the time that you have given us now. And that is one of the biggest acts of generosity I've ever received from a company. It is not the norm. That is not how the opera business works. We get paid by performance. We didn't perform. So I just want to say Pensacola Opera is definitely at the top of that list. In addition, the Marilla Opera program, which I was a participant in 2016, reached out to recent graduates from the program and said, we know every single one of you is affected by this, and we want to help in some way. We don't know if we can. Please send us any contracts that have been canceled, any contracts that have been postponed. What work have you lost? What can we do to help? And within a week, they were sending checks to singers. And so just the selflessness of those two companies in particular that have really affected me and have really helped me. And I just want to thank and just hope everybody can support them however they can now and in the future.
Yeah, I went ahead and put a link to the Marilla program over in the chat. So if anybody wants to go and check out that, it's a really incredible program, and they do a lot to support their alumni. And I know they've been really supportive of you, which is really great.
Yes.
So your husband's a singer too, yeah?
He is. The three of us went to grad school together at Florida State.
We sure did. And actually, so I have known Mary since 2012 when we started at Florida State together. And I have a fun little picture I wanted to show.
I don't know about this.
So this is us in the summer of 2013.
Oh my gosh.
And we were both performing at the Brevard Music Center. I was a pianist and she was singing, of course.
I have a terrible sty. Picture. I woke up like this.
Oh, we were so young.
We were so young.
What else can we talk about? I always like to ask, actually, what was your first, how did you get into music? What was the first thing you heard, or the first time you realized you loved to sing, or how did you, opera you thought important?
I'm sorry, I'm like making sounds while you're talking and I didn't hear that last part.
I said maybe the first opera that you saw too could be important.
Okay. I've just always sung, not classically. That didn't happen until college. You can ask my mom. She has this story she loves to tell about, like, we had some contractors come to the house to like do some work, and I was upstairs like hollering some song, and she just loves to tell that. I don't know. So I guess I've just always been singing because I like it. But the first opera I ever saw was The Magic Flute at SUNY Fredonia, my first or second year of college. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a great opera.
Yeah.
I think your dad, or James P. Hangley, may have said that you were singing Feed the Birds.
Oh, no. Hold on. I don't have the public chat open, so I don't see this. Oh.
That's your brother, I think.
So that is my brother. That is, oh, wow. My whole family is in there, aren't they? Okay. So what that is referring to is 8th grade. My school did a production an unauthorized production of Mary Poppins, so it was called A Spoonful of Sugar, and I did not get Mary Poppins. I'm not bitter, I promise, but I did get the Bird Woman, and in our production, she sang Feed the Birds, and yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, maybe we'll reprise that role someday.
Maybe.
You started out as a music education major in undergrad, right?
Yes, I did.
How has that informed how you sing, or you still teach, I imagine?
Yes, I do still teach. How does that inform? So one of my favorite things that I did as a music educator was elementary music. And when you're in front of little kids, you have to be very clear when you explain something. You have to even be animated. And I think whether or not I knew it, that skill applies really well and very importantly to what I do as an opera singer, because I have to be clear with my intention, or else, unless you speak the language, you will have no idea what I'm doing. And obviously, a little bit of animation doesn't hurt when you're on stage. So I think maybe that's how that translates.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome. And how are you teaching now? Are you doing any teaching right now during the time when you can't leave your house?
I am. I just started a voice studio because I love teaching. I've forgotten how much I love teaching, and I just want to help people connect back to singing if they haven't sung for a while, or people who are interested in singing and have never sung for the first time, or singers who have been singing forever. I just feel that need to connect with people right now through singing, and so it's just been launched.
So if anybody wants to maybe get a little virtual voice lesson, how would they do that?
Oh, how would they do that? They would go to my website, maryevelynhangley.com, and there is a tab for lessons. And I will say, because of this fabulous broadcast, use coupon code Pensacola, and you can get a free half-hour lesson.
Wow.
Yeah. So Cody, I expect to see you tomorrow.
Well, I know all of the people in Pensacola who are watching this are going to be singing wonderfully the next time I see them.
Hey, why not? We're not doing anything. Why not?
Well, I think we have a couple of questions. Let's answer some of those. First, let's go to Lynn's question, which is how is your concept of an opera or aria changed after you performed it?
Wow. So this is a great question, Lynn. It changes immensely because having the experience of a performance and going through that progression of emotions and movements, it just breathes life into the whole thing. And I can never, once I performed an opera or an aria, I feel like I can never go back to the way it was in the practice room. I feel like it has just sort of been, it's had some magical life breathed into it. And I probably need to do that sooner than a performance. But it's a really fun thing to look at before and after. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially once you know the aria in context of the whole opera, it might change the way you just sing the aria by itself from then on, you know?
Absolutely.
All right, next question. One of our board members, Ruth Orth, has asked, she wants both of us to say what we're optimistic about.
Ooh, what am I optimistic about? I am optimistic about people. I think this has been, I think we've sort of hit the reset button. We didn't choose to, we had to. And I'm optimistic that good things will come from this in many different senses.
Yeah, kind of along the same vein, I'd say I'm optimistic just about the arts, about opera, because when things like this happen, especially when, you know, we will have been away from people for 4, 5, 6 months, who knows how long it's going to be. But when we're able to gather together again, I think gathering together to experience art and to hear music and to see performances is going to be one of the most important ways that we all can heal. So I'm excited to see I've already been excited to see the innovation that's been happening in the arts right now when we're all doing these online things and a lot of interactive, really fun things happening online. But once we're able to get back into performance halls and recitals, I think it's going to be really exciting. And like you said, a reset. I mean, we'll be so excited to be together again that I know lots of ideas, new ideas will be happening, and it'll be really wonderful. So, and Catherine, when will you sing the Poison aria again?
That is my sister. And she is referring to Gounod's Romeo and Juliet, the much less heard aria that Juliet has later on, much better, in my opinion. And I don't know when I'll sing it again. Maybe Pensacola Opera. I think you recently did Romeo and Juliet, but maybe you should bring it back just for me because my sister wants to hear that aria.
Yeah, we just did it, so it might be a while, but
it's okay. I got time.
And Catherine also asks, who is your favorite sibling?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go with my brother-in-law Juan.
That's very impartial.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim Hangley has asked, could you sing a little for us?
No. I did. I don't know if you tuned in, Jim, earlier, but there was a video played, one of his favorite moments ever, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. Well, do you have any other thoughts or things you'd like to add, or things you'd like people to know about you or about opera or about singers or anything along those lines?
I mean, there's so many things I could talk about. I mean, do we have time?
Yeah, we can come in. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we can talk about going back to that picture of you and I. So that in that picture, that is a concert where something occurred that seems to happen to me way more than anybody else I know in this business, and that is called Mary goes on at the last minute to do something. Yeah, that was one of the many times I had to learn the final trio from Der Rosenkavalier and sing it in like 3 days. So that is, I guess, you didn't ask this, but if I have like a signature move, it's the last minute jump in.
What else have you done that for?
What else have I jumped in for?
Yeah.
Do you want the whole list? Because I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, it started in undergrad. Actually, no, since my dad is here, it started in the 5th grade at the Christmas Eve nativity pageant. I was at church early. The girl who was performing Mary was sick. So that was number 1. I got to be Mary in the nativity pageant in 5th grade. But opera-wise, or classical singing-wise, it started in undergrad when I had to learn and perform Schubert's Mass in C major in a weekend. And then Brevard happened. It happened at FSU with Mozart's Mass in C minor. It happened at Merilla mid-performance. It happened at San Francisco Opera. It happened just recently at San Jose. It happened in Minnesota. Oh, well, I was on deck at Minnesota. Yes. So it happens for me all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting because, young singers, when they're starting out, are covering roles a lot, and they often don't go on. But I know a lot, just like you said, a lot of examples of people who have gone on. So good to know that you need to be prepared.
Yes, that is the biggest thing I've learned so far. Always be prepared because it's going to happen to me.
Yeah. We actually have another question. Do you have a recommendation of where we could go online to watch and get more exposure to opera?
Oh, I mean, right now, every single opera house in Europe and the United States, it seems, is streaming their opera libraries every night. So if you follow them on Facebook or social media, I would say take a look at their nightly streaming options because it's everywhere.
And I just put a link in the chat for our opera has a website that we just started. That is our Learn From Home page, and we have a list of links separated into things for children and things for all ages. There's lots of compiled streaming resources that you can locate. But yeah, like Mary said, I mean, the Met is doing a production every night on their website. So
many companies are.
The other part of Ross's question was, what are your favorite operas, ones that are good for beginner opera fanatics?
Okay, I always say La Boheme is one of the great first operas because it's short. I think it's like 2 hours and 6 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes maybe. It's short, it's easy to follow, it's beautiful music, you're going to leave humming a tune. I think that's a great first opera. I think Hansel and Gretel is also a great first opera for any age. I think a lot of people think, oh, that's a kid's opera, but it's highly enjoyable. And people do it in lots of different ways these days. So some of them are not children friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a suggestion of Rigoletto. Yes, Rigoletto is a great opera. Music, yeah.
Yeah.
What else could you want? Great. Well, I think that's about all the time we have. So thank you for joining us, Mary.
You're welcome.
Fun. It's great to see you.
It was good to see you too.
And we will see you whenever Il Trovatore is able to happen.
Great.
I look forward to that, and I hope everybody is excited for that production as we are.
I'm very excited.
Awesome. Well, take care of yourself, and thank you all for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you.